What's up guys, it's Chris back with another episode. So I recently got asked if Hyundais are reliable. And I think I can answer that question. So stick around and stay tuned because you're on the breakdown. So if I sound congested, it's because I deal with these things called allergies. Unfortunately, you know, other things are out there. So hopefully you guys can hear me very well. So before I get into what is quality and what is reliability, I do want to point out that, again, the brand doesn't matter. If you haven't already, go check out that video. But super relative to what we'll be talking about today. So check it out. Hyundais are actually the Korean manufacturer that has been in the United States since 1986. They are a big manufacturer. A lot of people don't know that they're actually a worldwide conglomerate and has a long history span in the United States as well as worldwide. They're actually a shipping company, and cars are only a small fraction of what they actually do. Their luxury brand is actually Genesis, and their sister brand is Kia. So for those of you who are in the market for buying a new car or a used car, you're gonna see a lot of Hyundais. Hyundais are one of the most abundant cars on the market, particularly because Hyundai's mission is to essentially get value-packed, affordable cars for the average everyday consumer. Now, does this mean that they're any less reliable than, let's say, a Ford, Toyota, or any other one? No, absolutely not. But again, quality and reliability are not one and the same. When Hyundai entered the US market in 1986, the first car that they released was the Pony XL, or as we know it as the Hyundai XL. I'm sure you all have heard Biggie talk about rolling around the Hyundai XL. That's the car that he was referring to. When Hyundai entered the US market in 1986, it was a big deal because at that point you had your three big manufacturers, Honda, Toyota, and Nissan, all dominating the market. And so now you have Hyundai entering into that sector because they too wanted a piece of the pie. And the Pony XL set a record today in its first year with 168,000 sales. At the time that it was brought, it had a 1.5 liter engine, and it was the first front-wheel drive car to come to the US market from Hyundai. That's a big deal because front-wheel drive cars were kind of a trend that was being set because it's easier to compact and manufacture. Now, I will go on and say that basically Hyundais, they were pretty much garbage when they first came out. They were garbage. When it came onto the US market, it was a mere $5,499. Now, adjusted for inflation, that is $14,865, which in today's world is pretty cheap because right now the average car is $30,000, which I don't want to get into in another video, but whatever. So the car came with a 1.5 liter engine, and it was rather slow. It came with only 68 horsepower, 82 pound-feet of torque. Now, for the people who don't really know what that means, it's slow. For a quick comparison, it would be the same speed as a Mitsubishi Mirage. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that. But despite being small and slow, the purpose of this car was to get the average middle-class American what they needed to get from point A to point B, and that's where Hyundai won. If you haven't already, don't forget to slap that like button because I need it and YouTube would appreciate it. Also, don't forget to click subscribe. It would mean a lot to me and the YouTube algorithm if you did, because this is how I get to keep making these awesome inquisitive videos to keep you guys informed and well attained on what's going on in the car world. So if you haven't already, click that subscribe button now. Despite being small and slow, this solidified Hyundai's stake in the US market, and as a contender, small contender, not quite there yet, but a contender nonetheless against the US market, alongside the likes of your big names like your Hondas, your Toyotas, Nissans, Chevys, Fords, and everybody else. Fast forward today and we see that Hyundai is a premier automotive manufacturer that continues to give us big hits such as the Tucson, the Elantra, the Sonata, the Santa Fe, Ioniq, and even the Kona Electric. In terms of reliability, this is where it gets a little wonky. So manufacturers certify and back the warranty, and Kia and Hyundai have some of the best warranties in the game. So the question comes in is, should I buy one? Well, I would say this. Hyundai is what's considered a budget-friendly car. And if you're on a tight budget, but you want a lot of different features, Hyundai is a big go-to to get whatever you want in a relatively affordable package. Now, that doesn't come without its flaws. So, according to CarGurus.com, the average Hyundai price index as a brand for the month of August was $21,072. The average price index across the board for all cars was actually $30,760, which is significantly less less than most of the new cars you see today. And again, as I said, this is for pretty much across the board. There's something to be considered about when you see certain cars and models. So a lot of those prices that you see that are below 30,000, those typically come from your Sonatas, your Santa Fe's, your Tucsons, as well as your Elantras and your Accents. But people don't really buy Accents anymore. Not necessarily cheap cars, but more affordable cars. Now, despite being astronomically high, Hyundai still proves to be the most bang for your buck, even in a used model. So check this out. This 2020 CPO Tucson comes in at $24,980 before taxes and fees. Now, keep in mind, US Car News notes that same model, brand new, the average person paid $26,203 before taxes and fees. Let's take a look at another example. So here I've got a certified pre-owned 2017 Hyundai Elantra Limited, and it's currently priced at $18,995. Even though $18,000 sounds a little expensive, I just want you to keep in mind that you can't get that same car limited as a base model. So if you were to pay the same amount of price for a new 2022, you would essentially get the base model version of this same car. So I do want to point out that same model, if you try to buy a limited trim today, would cost you significantly more. The average price that was paid for the Hyundai Elantra limited trim was $30,084, which is an 8% markup over the original MSRP. Buying a certified pre-owned 2017 would save you about 36% in total running cost of the car. This is again before taxes and fees. I guess I'll get into the good stuff because I know y'all probably be like, oh my gosh, I wish he would just talk about the liability. And yes, I like to cuss. It's fun. Everybody should cuss more. Just cuss more. In terms of reliability, not quality, most cars are pretty much reliable. The modern car gets you about 200,000 miles with basic maintenance, which is your oil changes, your tire rotation, spark plugs, batteries, and pretty simple stuff. The average American, however, does not take care of the car, and that's where you run into a lot of the issues. But in terms of reliability, it's a mixed bag. If you haven't seen my video already about car brands and what that means, go check that out because it really explains how this stuff ties in together when you look at particular models. So according to carcomplaints.com, the Hyundai model that had the largest number of complaints was the 2011 model year for the Sonata, and that was because of engine seizures. Now, what that typically means is that the engine essentially failed and typically seized up because either A, the oil did not run through the engine properly, it was not properly circulating to the point where the internal components broke, or the engine pretty much melted internally. That's usually what that means. In 2011 is when we see Hyundai really become the brand that we know them today and the design elements that they have today, but that didn't come without a cost. And in 2011, this was the hugest redesign and a pivotal moment for Hyundai. So this obviously is going to have the most issues. And again, a word of advice, never buy the first model year, ever. Never do it because it usually comes with the most problems, because that is how manufacturers determine what quality control issues they need to go back and do for the refresh. Now, the good thing is that when this car initially came out, Consumer Reports gave it an excellent review. They praised it for its design, they praised it for its power and its agility and its handling. But the thing that I always say is that it's not the miles that count, it's the age. Fast forward 12 years, and now the car has pretty much shown all of the problems that it was going to have. And now we see what happens when you have a brand new design with brand new engineering with untested and undocumented issues. As far as the best model goes, it seems as though the Hyundai Tucson is probably their best model, with the only complaint of the 2016 model year having the most issues for transmission failures. And this also was a brand new year for the Hyundai Tucson as it was breaching into a new generation. So again, those redesigns like Apple iPhone, anytime you have something new come in, it's more likely to have problems. So if I'm going to give a suggestion on what I would recommend as far as Hyundai's goes, it would definitely be the 2019 Hyundai Tucson. It seems to have the lowest amount of issues according to carcomplaints.com, and it is, from a financial perspective, 3 years old. It has hit its depreciation curve, and so that's really where most people get the sweet spot of what it means to own a car. So I also want to point out a little tidbit. When it comes to the 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty, that is not transferable if you are not the original owner or you did not purchase it under the certified pre-owned manufacturer's warranty. And it's typically for powertrain, which means that it typically only covers the engine and the transmission. Anything else as far as tail lights, fenders, what have you, any type of build quality control issue would not be covered under that warranty. So I do want to point that out there. Overall, I can comfortably say that Hyundai's as a brand and as their specific models are pretty good. I would say that just don't expect to keep them long term from a quality perspective because they probably will not hold up, but that's not their their intention. Their intention is to keep you coming back for the latest and greatest model. A big thing that I will also recommend, that if you are going to buy a Hyundai and you want a particular model, just do your research and look into what the complaints about that particular year model is. If a car is cheap and you see it cheap in different arenas and they're around the same price, there's usually a reason behind that. So do your research and double check. I also want to point out that when it comes to financing or buying a Hyundai, the biggest thing is to either lease them or to buy them certified pre-owned. Do not buy a Hyundai new. I will go over depreciation in another video, but you have not seen depreciation like you've seen it for Kias and Hyundais. Simple supply and demand is that if everybody has one, then it's not as valuable. I'm gonna let you do what you want with that. Overall, I think Hyundai is a great brand, and I think that they do their best job to make sure that the average person can afford their cars. And if you want to step up and you want to get a little more big boy, big girl-ish, there's always Genesis. And if you want something a little more spunky, there's their sister brand Kia. But in terms of reliability, I would probably give them a 3 out of 5 for average reliability. There's nothing super spectacular about them, but they definitely get the job done. And as long as you do your basic maintenance and you take care of the car will take care of you. So if you haven't already, check out my other videos, because they're pretty important and they're pretty cool. With that being said, feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know what car you enjoy. Let me know what you drive, and let me know what you want me to look into, because I want to make sure that you have everything that you need to get into the next car of your dreams. So click on the next video because it explains some more things. And until then, I'll see you next week. See ya.